is, yes. It's very German surname. It is.
And how would you like this? Do you want questions as we go, or similar questions
I
at
would
the end?
like to just give you the overview, take us through the story, and then please go ahead and ask questions, and hopefully I'm going to leave the research agenda at the end.
Okay.
But the first thing I want to ask you is, how many of you dream big? Hands up if sometimes you sort of walk and dream or come up with ideas. Do you dream? Just want to see how many. Just don't be shy. I'm not going to ask you about the weird dreams. And I won't ask about any details. But have you ever had a dream and then somebody crushed that dream? So it never materialized. A dream about a product, a dream. Yeah, we've got a couple of people. Okay, I think we've got more dreamers than innovators because you're leading Centream. And I think you're a little bit shy because you don't know me, but that's okay. Because this is a story about dreams and crushed dreams, and it's a fairy tale of happy endings. So I'm going to share it with you, and hopefully I'm going to try and recruit some of you at the end, and then we can talk about a research agenda. The story is about the Imaginarium. So when I had an idea for a module a few years back called Imaginarium, which is really about innovation, and some of you might know about Imagineering from Disneyland, and the Imagineers who build amazing concepts, and when you go in the ride, you've got these things that stand out, and these restaurants that are amazing. The story of Imagineering goes further back from an aluminum company. So I came up with the idea of Imagineering for a particular postgraduate course, and a number of postgraduate courses at Eastbourne. And as I found myself having to defend the word Imagineering to some colleagues, having to write a couple of pages on the history of Imagineering, trying to convince people I did not come up with a word, and no, I was not kidding, it exists. Eventually, that came through, and it was a success, and the module has been happening for a few years. But that dream grew a little bit bigger, and the dream was, well, we're at a university where we have no incubator. So every year, through my modules, I've got a couple of teams, because I like to keep them live and innovative, and we do run Dragon's Den style of sessions, and a lot of the projects from those modules actually turn out to be businesses later on. So I thought to myself, what if we could have an incubator here at Eastbourne, where the students could work with us, could work with mentors from the academic community, and then when they finish and they have their degree, they have almost ready their business, and then for the next 6 months, they can continue using the space, and they can grow their business, pretty much like an incubator, and we can take 1 or 2%, very small cut, so we can sustain the idea and pay it forward to future businesses. That was the original dream, right? Of course, that dream was crushed. It was crushed. I worked for about a year with the Enterprise Office, and credit to them, very, very hospitable people. Please work with them. They were amazing at helping me throughout the stages. Unfortunately, one day before the deadline, one of the very few times in my life where I've submitted something before the deadline, early, about a week before the deadline, but one day before the deadline, a policy of the university was discovered that did not allow external people, so the student, the moment they got their degree, they become external people, they couldn't use our facilities. Don't worry, that policy has changed as we speak, probably has changed just now, but at the time, I could not call the project an incubator, and I wouldn't be getting the funding, so all the hard work of a year was going to go to waste. But walls are not there to stop us, as I say to my students. They are for people like me with big foreheads to crush and strengthen your forehead. So I said, why don't you do what you preach to your students and push on and see where that takes you and see how they can justify this. So I wrote, within something like 12 hours, over one night and a lot of caffeine, I rewrote the bit as an internal incubator without using the word incubator. And I wasn't expecting to get the funds, I must be very, very honest. But again, credit to the Enterprise Office. I do not know what strings they pulled, but I'm eternally grateful. The money came through from this ESRC-funded innovation project, and we started the Imaginarium. So around May, I got the grant, and what I did is I commissioned an artist because I wanted that dream to really be a dream. I wanted the space to be something where the students felt comfortable. I wanted to separate it even though it was linked to certain modules, even though it could be linked to research, I want them to feel that this space was theirs. So I got I actually contacted Deep Purple, wonderful people. They got me in touch with the artist who specializes in murals, and I gave her a brief, and we started designing this multicolored brand for the Imaginarium, and it turned out quite good. And to begin with, the pre-pilot was only with 2 undergraduate modules, and originally, because my background is in hospitality, the final brief had little symbols which signified hospitality businesses. But then as we were working through that, I thought, well, wait a minute, this is bigger than just hospitality. It can be applied to a number of other sectors. I said, let's take the symbols out and just stick with the colors and the triangles and the shapes. And this is how this evolved into that brand. So the whole thing runs across this room. Now, what we managed to buy, we bought the furniture, we recarpeted, we repainted, we bought all the equipment that you would need to do a startup, including a 3D printer I had from a different project, which I donated. And then near the end, I went out and started buying games from charities, because I wanted this to be also a space where the kids could actually end up playing. But the games are very, very, I thought about them, so they're not any type of games. There's Risk, and there's chessboard, and there's backgammon. So a bit of luck and a bit of strategy combined. And we actually use them in some exercises. But they've got stationery on top of everything else. The best Mac I could find at the time and the best PC I could find at the time. A color printer, and I've stocked it up with enough stationery to last us for years. So all of that. And they also have a telephone extension, and they've got everything that they need, including lockers, because I was thinking when we reach the stage where you have intellectual property that needs to be protected, if they've got heavy files they don't want to move around, how do we protect all of that?
Can I just ask a question on that? When you say they've got everything they need, how do you know what their needs are?
Well, I had the pre-pilot, so I ran a couple of potential businesses where I identified the needs of the students to start up the business. So I stocked it up. If I've got something else, I will buy it. But so far, nobody else has asked for anything beyond this. We've got our own address and our own postbox, so any letters that go out to clients have an address that looks like they're a real business, and it comes back to the Imaginarium for the business that send out the post. So currently, the early adopters were 2 modules, and from 2 modules we went to 14 modules. I did a series of presentations to students, and whilst I was presenting to students, pretty much as I'm doing here, I was also talking to fellow academics, and I said, look guys, I don't have any time for this. I'm doing this all voluntarily, but it's good for the students, and there might be a research project coming at the end of it. Who wants to be a mentor? So a lot of people put their hands up. At a time where there was a lot of uncertainty, we all are overworked, but people were so excited about the project. I've got 14 academics last year to be mentors, which is fantastic, including the people from Be Purple, which, as I said, they are amazing at supporting us. And the space, if I can show you a little bit of the space, this is that was one of my first attempts of using a 360 camera. So as you see, I started it backwards, but you can actually turn around and see. It's a very small room, and nothing too big. I'm going to go there, so I can actually show you. This is before I had the furniture there for the students have small meetings, but you can see the lockers, you can see the Mac, the 3D printer, the PC, and the printer there. I'm not going to bore you with the 3D tour. There's a couple of 360 tours for students and for staff to see. As I said, the Prezi has been shared, so you can, at your own time, if you want, you can go and have a look. The most important bit wasn't the space. The space was the departure point. The space is to get the students excited. The space is to get the colleagues excited. The most important glue, the glue that holds it together, is the virtual space. Because we have asynchronous discussions. This is where under context you can see all the academics, and you can list the academics by the modules, so students know, wait a minute, I can do this and still get some credits, because we try to do that as well. We try to promote that certain modules, you do your business portfolio, you will also get credits. So they can go into contacts, they can go in the calendar to see the room availability. I went within 3 months I had a little dongle, so now I register the students, so they go with a card. So they put the card and they get access to the room. So I didn't need to have a number of keys as I did at the beginning and keep on running to unlock the room. We got the discussion board where students can talk with mentors or other students. I give them space for their groups. And if I were to click on the, you know how on the modules now you've got this photo register, you can actually see about 10 or so students who, because this is a self-registration area, this is not a module. If you go into the Student Central and you type Imaginarium, you can enroll yourself, and a number of students enroll themselves. But on top of those, I've got something like 10 groups which the mentors brought into the Imaginarium and helped them. For example, Events Live and Hospitality Live, those colleagues brought groups which haven't registered as individuals. So I'm estimating the space was used in the last year with about anything between 30 to 50 students to work on businesses and link that to their modules. So what is the future? What do I want to achieve? I mean, you probably have heard we're under a consultation period. Some colleagues will be coming to the business school. I'm guesstimating that I will be joining the school sometime in next summer. So what I'm hoping to begin with, this is the future, and you probably have seen this where they are trying to show what they're doing with the buildings. So we're going to be here, Imaginarium 2, version 2. I don't know, I know there's going to be an incubator. I'm hoping that I can help one of you, or two of you, or five of you, together with the enterprise office, to get a little bit more funding, and we can replicate the idea.
Watts building.
Sorry?
Is that the Watts building?
That's a new academic building.
That's the new academic building?
Yeah, so we're going to be...
That's the parking garage. Okay,
Yeah,
right.
so these are all the new...
You're going to look out over the parking.
Yeah, they were, if you've seen the video, they just, come out like plants. So I've planted, if we can get a tiny little room, again to have it as a departure point, we could have an Imaginarium here. In fact, I went into the staff forum and I said, anybody at any school who wants to replicate this idea, come and talk to me. I'm happy to give you any of the materials. And I'd love to see the idea spread around the university. Now, what is the next bit is why at a research? Why at a research forum? Because you might be able to easily see the pedagogic research. It's very easy. We can write a paper about how this all-inclusive space, which helps nurture students' dreams, helps them with active learning and beyond that. And I'm actually in the process of writing that paper. And you can also possibly see the enterprise-related research, because we're talking about return on investment here. So if somebody had the nurturing to start their business in a space that was free, effectively, chances are when they start out their business, the return on investment will come much faster and we've seen that with incubators. There's plenty of literature on that. The question I have to you is, I'm at the stage where I have 1 year worth of data, which I don't think is enough for theory development or theory redevelopment. One idea I have is about, how do I utilize that with nudge theory, because that's effectively what this has been about, nudging students, not forcing them. It's their choice, their volunteering, nudging staff, not forcing them. It's their choice. How do we then develop a paper around, for example, nudge theory? And if you see, you are imaginative people, some of you dream. We know all of you dream, you're just shy. Any ideas of how we can turn this into a bigger research project? I am all ears, and I'm definitely full of energy to help you hopefully come up with Imaginator 2.
So, chance for a bit of feedback on that question and also any questions that you've got. Okay, back there to Spina first.
It's extremely interesting. And what I'm doing is, maybe you haven't heard about enterprise and innovations, a new initiative that we are building up in business school. And it is based on this idea of having, at least at the beginning, 20 students, that they are going to have self-learning and they are going to be coached to become entrepreneurs. So there is already space on the building, there is trained the coach that is a Finnish model, and there is a lot of literature behind that. David Francis over there could also introduce you to the literature because he has done quite a lot of work behind all these learning methodologies. So it would be very good to discuss a little bit more because there is a specific model that is at the moment we are planning and we are doing that incorporate much higher.
So good timing then.
The timing is, yes, and the timing is going to be 2021.
Okay.
With the new building, so this is already planned.
Okay. So we'll chat later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, well, thank you very much for your presentation. It was very good. I've been working with incubators, technology parks for a while now, since 2005 in Brazil here. And I was curious about what's the mission of this incubator? It's more focus on teaching or it's about generation of new business?
For me, as Yanis, and if you look on the Student Central, I'd say if you can imagine it, you can engineer it. It's about giving back to the community. So it's about creating new businesses. A lot of these businesses will start up as small businesses. So it's about, for me, it's about the community and the students.
Okay, and then this incubator will be managed by?
This was managed so far by a lot of effort by you're looking at him. So
And which is the business model that you are implementing now in order to have an incubator that is sustainable inside the university? How does it work?
the model I would promote is the original model, whereby some of the money from the successful businesses go back in the incubator. So we have staff that some of their time is actually paid for, which is the model that was not allowed to use. And is the model I would like to adapt. Right now, the model right now is volunteering. It's like any charity. People volunteer their time to support it. That model is not sustainable. Yeah, exactly. So the policies are changing. They might have changed. And we just heard that in 2021 with the new building, finally we'll be allowed to do this properly. So the model would be make sure that we have a stream of income that supports those incubators, enterprise facilities, startup spaces, whatever you want to call them.
Okay.
Going back to the speaker's point, I think there is a unique opportunity here to join us in two programs. Because Yanni is offering support after they get the degree. You're going to work with them during the degree.
Sorry, I was going to show you this video at the end. Go ahead. So,
I think there's an opportunity for you to join up. One critical comment, I think the ultimate success of this incubation center is how many of these supported startups are going to make it into scaling up.
yes.
I think a critical factor there is to try to get them in touch with value chains, existing value chains. That's the biggest barrier, in my opinion, is proper startup.
I think my comments is just related to what George has said. So I just want to ask, do you currently have, or are you planning to have, services or support to the students apart from presenting?
No, we've got, we teamed up with, as I said, with Big Purple, so they have a whole program of workshops. So we make sure we support the students with those workshops and extra workshops that we have specifically. So we look at the needs of each group. So or individual, there's a lot of individuals starting up their own business. So for example, I had somebody who was struggling with intellectual property. So I got them in touch with an intellectual property specialist to give them
That's via Big Purple.
Well, the contact was made by Big Purple, but I then accessed the individual, the consultant. So yeah, I go a lot back to Big Purple. They are amazing. They've got all the resources. They can, if they cannot answer the question, they will give you a contact to the person that can answer the question. So far, I haven't had any difficult questions where I couldn't find somebody who could help.
Have you looked into the legal framework underlying all of this? One of my concerns is that in the US, some of the bigger universities who had a spin-off found that they were actually liable for problems that occurred later down the line
number of other incubators at other universities. One of the models I liked the most was where certain universities open up their own limited companies, which the incubator stands under. So all the liability stays with that limited company. That's one of the solutions. I haven't looked extensively into the legalities of this university because I was stopped on my own tracks. And I was told that we are reinventing and coming up with new policies. So I was waiting for the right time to get to that stage, and it looks like 2021 might be the right time.
Just love to see the movie.
Yes.
Just before we do, I just wanted to ask as a research question, you are very emotionally involved in this. You are the pioneer, the startup as well. And so there is a danger without, like in action research, we talk about triangulation, that you probably need someone researching you to ensure you're not biased in your own research.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. That's why I'm starting. That's why I'm trying to find collaborators to do the research bit.
Yeah.
The other I find easy to get about one. I can look just at the students and their approach.
Okay, so we'll just end this one with a movie.
Okay, to the Imaginarium.
Imaginarium.